Hi there. I just wanted to give you a few more tips on using erasers for your pencil drawing. You can also use them for charcoal and sometimes pastel as well. I've got a few options for erasers, and I have to say I use just about all of them in my studio. So yesterday I was talking about this little baby that's a combination retractable pencil in this half and then filled with eraser in that half, and the ability to be able to wind that out as it gets used up. So that's one of my favourite tools, and I showed you that you could actually refill these, even though they excuse me, they don't actually tend to let you know that you can refill them, but you can sneakily do that. And so there's these other ones that you can use that are just 100% eraser. So this one I've actually ended up putting a little star sticker on the end of it so that I know when it's in my pencil pot, I know that that's an eraser and not a black pen. But this is called a Papermate eraser. So this one's just like a retractable pencil, except it's a retractable eraser. So you can push it back up in there. So I'll just switch the camera around, that might make it a bit easier. So this one is the one that I was just talking about, which is the Papermate eraser. Ignore the star on it. You don't get a star unless you put your own sticker on it. So it's just a retractable eraser that comes out, and you can push it back in just by opening it up and pushing. So that's those two. So what's really good about that is you can get replacement erasers. So that's my little packet of replacement erasers. These are all plastic erasers. You know, the plastic eraser is like these Staedtler ones. There's a brand new one there. So the Razoplast is the Staedtler brand of them. You can get in different brands. This one is called a Razoplast Combi. What I like about this one is it's got the plastic eraser on one end and the biro eraser on the other end, which is amazingly useful in the studio. I'll tell you about that another day. So I try and hunt down those. They're quite hard to find these days, the ones with the blue gritty ends. So we've already looked at those two and those ones. The other one is that you can get that's similar to this one. I think it comes in a blue. I couldn't find it when I had a look, but it's a Staedtler brand, and you can get packets of refills for that one as well. And then this one, these are quite fun because they come in different colours and they're quite affordable. They're really cheap to buy. These are retractable erasers. Actually, I probably wouldn't call them a retractable eraser. It's a click system rather than, you don't press on the top, you just click it down. As it gets used up, you click it down. Those ones I found I haven't been able to replace. They're so cheap, you just kind of buy a new one, but I would love it if you didn't have to throw away any plastic. But I might do some engineering another day and see if I can work out how to refill this one. I vaguely remember doing it one year and failed. So these ones come in all sorts of different colours. You can pick your own colour, your favourite colour. And then the Kneadable eraser is a great one. So this is what it looks like when it's been used up. It's sort of this gooey putty stuff. It's not blue tack. You have to be careful you don't mix up this with blue tack in your studio. This is a very useful eraser for all sorts of different reasons. I'll show you that another day as well. I like to keep it in a little plastic tub, preferably with a lid on it. That's what it looks like new. It comes in a little tablet like that. They're not cheap, but they sure go a long way, and they're so useful in the studio. And one of my favourite erasers when I'm doing really fine pencil work is this little baby. It's a brand new friend that I've found. It's called by Tombow, and it's called the Mono Zero. It comes in two forms. There's a completely black one, and then there's this kind of racy 3-colour stripe one. Instead of having more black pens in my pencil box that I can't work out what they are, like this one, it's sort of looks a bit like a black pen, so that's why I had to put the star on it. But instead of having another one that's black like this one, I decided to choose the stripy one so that I could really see it in my kit. I knew exactly which one was my little fine eraser. So I'll just compare these two. All of these other ones that I've been showing you have got quite a wide diameter on the eraser. You can see it against my finger there. But this one is a beautiful little one that comes out really fine. It's tiny. It's one of my favourite erasers these days. You can see how tiny the nib is on it. So that means you can erase really tiny fine lines when you're doing some really detailed pencil work in your journal. So that's a lovely eraser, that Tombow Mono Zero, made in Japan. It's a beautiful thing and it costs a mozza, but it's a useful thing to have, and you can get packets of refills for that one as well. So I've got a packet of refills in my kit too. So there's a whole pile of options for erasers, and as I said at the beginning, I use all of them at different times for different reasons. So I've actually got a jar of erasers, different sorts of erasers in a jar that I keep in my studio. So there's some more tips for your drawing, and if you'd like to see any more tips for drawing or learning to paint, then go to the dojo at zenartart.com, which is based on the Zen and the Art of Art book, and there's lots more tips to be had there. So if you don't mind liking, commenting or sharing down below, that will help other people to see this video as well, and visit the dojo for more free tips and tricks. Thanks for watching. Hi there, I thought I'd give you another tip on erasers, and this time it's to do with these plastic erasers. And sometimes they're a bit annoying when you use them for a while and they get a really curved end, and then you've got no accuracy when you want to try and erase something really fine. So here's a trick that another artist showed me. To use the other end, or if you wanted to, you could start on this end, but on this end here, the square end, what you do is you just start butchering these. So if you don't have to keep it as a big block like that. So you get a blade, preferably a fairly firm one. I've chosen the big knife that's got the stronger blade, and you just chop it up into slices. So you don't make them too thin, don't make them too wide. You make them just wide enough that you can get a nice sharp edge, but enough thickness that it's going to be reasonably strong to use. So just slice down through, and you get a little piece of an eraser like that, and then look at how many sharp sides there are on that piece of eraser that you can go in and erase really fine details. Switch to another side, erase fine details. So that's fantastic for using for really fine work. So out of one of these you could get 10 or 15 brand new sharp edged erasers by doing that trick. So don't be afraid to butcher your plastic erasers to get nice little fine ones. So if you want any more tips on erasing, drawing, painting, go to the dojo at zenartart.com, so Zen and the Art of Art, and please hit like down below to allow other people to see this video as well. Hi there, I'm just going to show you a few more tips about erasers. You wouldn't think there'd be so many tips about erasers, but they sometimes get pretty dirty. So when you're using them, especially these plastic erasers. So this eraser is what I call a plastic eraser, and the one that's in the end of this other pencil that I showed you, any of these white erasers that are kind of rubbery, I call them plastic erasers. There's a retractable one that the whole thing is an eraser. And you can see it on the end of it, it gets pretty grubby. So that can sometimes transfer back onto your paper, especially if you're trying to do really fine work with nice white paper. You don't want that to be transferring back in. So the trick that I use for cleaning these erasers is, there's a couple of ways you can do it. I mean, you can use the trick that I showed you that other day, where you just keep slicing off a new slice off that eraser and use that up until it's all rounded edges, and then throw it away, slice the new slice off the cake. But if you've got one of these and you just want to clean it up, because maybe you like these big ones for erasing large areas in a big drawing,
So what I do is I get a bit of canvas. So this is a bit of loose canvas. You may or may not have one of these floating around. You can probably use the back of a blank canvas painting if you've got one that you've bought that's pre-stretched, but we have the canvas on the roll. So this is a really nice gritty texture that's very dry, and it's dry fabric. So that's a really good surface to use, because if you just scrub this on it as if you're erasing, you just scrub the eraser all over it, keep turning the sides, see how clean it gets? So keep on scrubbing on all the sides, and it takes off all of those manky dirty bits of the eraser really, really quickly. So with this trick, with this sort of thing, you might be able to find other sort of stiff but sort of grainy sort of fabrics that you've got floating around. It's a perfect surface as well for cleaning the underside of your computer mouse, believe it or not. You can take your computer mouse and then push it across, really firmly across that surface, and it'll take all that gunk from the bottom of the mouse. So that's how you clean a plastic eraser to nice and pristine and clean. So same thing with these ones in the retractable eraser style, just do that. The other thing you could do is just slice off the end and throw it away, so that'll give you a nice flat sharp thing. That's what I do with this one. So this is my fine eraser. When it gets too grubby on the end there, I just basically slice that little end off, because it's such a tiny amount of eraser. And actually it's really nice to have the eraser come back to brand new, just like when I first bought it. It's a nice sharp end there for erasing little fine details. And you'll see with this one, this has got a bit of staining on the end of it. So I can just grind that away and get all of that yucky stuff off the end of the eraser, and then it won't transfer back onto the paper afterwards. So just like brand new erasers. Another way is, instead of using, if you haven't got a piece of canvas like this, using the back of the piece of canvas, is a bit of sandpaper. If you find really fine sandpaper like this sort of stuff, it's quite fine, but you can still feel it's quite gritty, then that's quite handy. It will take off more chunks of the eraser, so it takes a little bit more off, so that's an alternative. So there's the tip of the day for erasers. So if you would like to have more tips, then go and visit the dojo at Zen and the Art of Art, and you can find more free tips and tricks over there. And please like, share and comment on the video below to help other people to see it. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hi, I've got some tips for you today on more eraser tips today. So the Kneadable eraser I didn't mention previously, and this is what it looks like when you first buy it in the shop. It's the favourite eraser for an artist to use. It's called Kneadable with a K, because you can mush it around and push it and pull it into shape. So this is not blue tack. Don't ever get it mixed up with blue tack in your studio, because blue tack will make a terrible mess of your paper. It's greasy and oily, and it'll just smear the graphite across the paper. So this is quite a sort of a grainy texture. It's dry but rubbery, and so you just keep on mushing it until you get it into just the right shape that you want to erase something out. I've got a few more tips on how to use that in the Zen and the Art of Art book. If you've got a copy of that, you can have a look at some of the things you can do with kneadable erasers in there. But we've been talking about how to clean erasers this week. This is what one of them looks like when it's new, just out of the packet, that nice pale grey colour. But if you've been using it for quite a while, it turns a really dark grey. So remember, you can always just break it into smaller pieces. But that's quite dark, but it's still fine to use. So the point you know when you've got to stop using a kneadable eraser is when you try and erase something and it puts more graphite onto the paper than it lifts off. So then it's time to get rid of it. Just throw it away, get a nice fresh new one. But if you're using it, this one should be still fine, even though it's a lot darker than the newer versions, because you can, as soon as you've erased something and you get the graphite or pastel or charcoal or whatever you're erasing onto the outside of the eraser, to clean the eraser, all you do is you just turn it inside out. You just wrap that gunk onto the inside, and then on the outside is a cleaner area of the eraser again. So you just keep on using it, turning it inside out to get to the cleaner spots. Use it, turn it inside out, over and over until it becomes so black and so gunky that it starts messing up your paper, and then it's time to throw it away. So that's how you use a kneadable eraser, or clean it anyway. Sorry if my voice is a bit croaky today. I was up all night, or late at night, painting this seascape. So if you would like to see some more tips on erasers and drawing and painting, go and visit the dojo at Zen and the Art of Art. And please hit like or share or comment down below so that other people can see this video. Thanks for watching.